So what we're going to look at now is just going to have a quick look at the suspension arms, but before that we've got some of these little wheels that just go here and here. I've already glued on the two, but just to kind of give you a closer look, there is quite a bit of flash going on around our little wheel on the back here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's just loads of flash there. See if we get you in even closer. But what we need to do, we do need to just, you know, nicely trim it up, as hopefully you can see there. But don't worry about it looking unneat or anything like that. I mean, we're going to have the track teeth actually go in here, so there's no need to worry about it being too unneat. We just want to make it so that you can at least kind of fit the track teeth in here so it sits nice and well. But we just trim around, getting up that nasty bit of flash. Alright, the problem is, I'm going to show you in a bit. There we go. The problem is this little circle area here that kind of spaces our two pieces, our two kind of wheels here. It is kind of like sticking out and it's all uneven, and what we don't want is some sort of a thing like this going on where it's not all kind of straight. We want it to kind of try and sit nice and even and equal. So what we need to do here, we get like a nice hard sanding stick, not a spongy one, and what we want to do is we just want to try and level it off as evenly as possible, and we can just drag it along here, just get it, and keep checking and making sure you're getting the flash off but keeping it nice and even, because it can make your two wheels kind of come together all kind of nasty and not in the right sort of direction. But you don't want to sand at it too much that you end up kind of sanding this away, and your space gets kind of shorter and shorter, and then your teeth can't fit in there. So that's not looking too bad. A little bit more. Alright, and that should be good. I mean, we just kind of cut on the inside because we've got a bit of flash going in there. This is the one thing you'll probably find about this kit as you go through it. You start to kind of see more and more as you go through all the different pieces and trimming them up all nice and neat, that actually there is actually quite a bit of flash going on. So I'm just going to kind of tidy up where we've cut this off the sprue with the tab, little bit of a sand there, coming with the sponge for the curvature of the piece so it's all nice and good, and then the second one, so that's all good. I've already kind of trimmed up our second part of the road wheel. This is the one that's not really got detail because it's going to be facing inwards, so you're not really going to see it. What we want to do, a bit of our welding glue just on where we're going to glue this, just to give us a little bit of bite, like so, and we can come in from the back and get some glue just in there, because we ain't going to see this part, so we get some glue just in there, give us a bit of bite, and you just want to make sure it's all nice and kind of even all around. So kind of just turn it, make sure it's nice and even, and we can literally probably just glue this straight in, get a big blob of glue in there, and then we can just push on to our actual hull side. Right, and again remember, kind of look straight down there so you can make sure it's all nice and lined up with everything else, so it's all nice and lined up, because you do get that nasty bit of play where you can have some kind of suspension bits and wheels and stuff kind of at all sorts of different angles, so you want to kind of like make sure everything's lined up with everything. So we now come to our suspension arms. Now the suspension arms, you do have a left and you do have a right, so make sure you don't get them all messed up Just make sure you've got all your right ones with your right ones and your left ones with your left ones. They do need quite a bit of trimming. Again, I keep saying, I'm probably going to keep saying it, but there is quite a bit of flash with this kit that you're going to have to sort out. Kind of makes me almost think, oh, should I have gone with the Tamiya? But then I can't help keep thinking the mass amount of photo etch that we can have with this kit, I'm kind of thinking is going to kind of make up for the bit of the oldness of this Challenger 2 by Trumpeter. So what we want to do, just show you the first one. We're just putting a piece on top there, and then what we want to do, nice bit of welding glue just to get it started, just to get it biting and sticking down. And then I need to make sure I've got that the right way. I have. And then what we can do, we can add a bit more glue just in and around, make sure that's down, and it is. And then we can get a bit of our welding glue and just put on the inside here, just to help it slide in onto our actual hull here a lot easier, and give it a bit of bite. And then we can kind of go around and just put in a bit of our welding glue to make sure that is nice and down, like so. Give it a little bit of a push, not too much that you end up spurting out plastic oozing out, just enough to kind of make sure it's pushed down and it's in place. And then we can get our other part of our suspension arm here. Again, a little bit of the welding glue just to go on, just to kind of get, you know, a bit of bite, get the whole kind of like melting process going, and we should be able to kind of push that on a bit easier than if it was just bare plastic with no glue on it. And then we can just kind of touch it around the sides to make sure we're all down. Little bit of a push again, not so much that we push out ooze, just enough to kind of get it into place like so. And we just then need to do it, and make sure you kind of check, you know, get the Mark 1 eyeball, make sure everything's lined up nice and square, because it does have that play. And then I just got to do it for the other 5 now. Bottom of our hull now virtually done. What I want to do now is kind of concentrate on photo etch. Now I say this because if we follow the instructions, we're going to be putting all these little pieces here and all our jerry cans and everything, and it's just lots and lots of little pieces going on here and there. But at the same time, we've got all this photo etch as well to kind of work our way through, and I'm kind of thinking that it's going to be a bit complicated and more hassle if we kind of like follow one bit, find out and work out what photo etch on here goes into our part 6 and the part 7 and part 8 and so forth, when really, I mean, I don't want to go off and accidentally put on a plastic piece when I've got a bit of photo etch that could go there, because I mean it can get a bit confusing. So what I'm thinking is, forget the instructions that you get with a kit, and what we want to do is let's just go for it with just the photo etch instructions, because looking at these instructions, it does look as though if we've got our bottom hull section here, our top hull section, our engine cover here, and our little back plate that just goes on the back of here, we've got the pieces that literally puts on most of the photo etch on our hull section. So once we've got all the photo etch on our hull section here, we've pretty much killed off all the photo etch. So then we can pick up the instructions and put on whatever pieces are plastic and build it up that way. So let's forget about all the plastic instructions. Let's concentrate on the photo etch now. But before we do that, right, I want to get this little bit of a back plate on here, but it just doesn't quite seem to fit. It just seems like, I don't know how well you can see that on camera, but it just seems like this bottom piece here is just maybe a bit too long, because I mean it doesn't quite sort of link up that great just at these two bits here. So this, I want to sand that down a little bit. So get in a sanding stick, flat one, not a nice hard one, not a spongy one. Right, we're just gonna nicely kind of sand back a bit of the bottom. You know, we're talking less than a mil, just to kind of get everything to kind of line up a little bit better, because this kit is definitely showing its age with flash, and there is a few little kind of gaps that are kind of forming with regards to you know, the fit. And that's got a little bit nicer and smaller. I think we could just maybe just take off a little tiny bit more. Just like so. We're just taking off a nice little bit there, and now that is starting to nicely kind of join up nicely, but we do look like we've got a little bit of warping. I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to hold that all nice, that side, and this side kind of needs a bit of a push. If you can just see that, I'm just kind of giving that a bit of a push. It's a little bit warped going that way, sort of thing, right? So we want to kind of sort of force it a bit inwards. Now the way we're going to do this is, let's start off, we're good on our bottom bits here, so we can get some of our Mr. Cementes. Let me bring you out a little bit. Mr. Cementes, we can come in, get the bottom bit glued in at least a little bit, just to sort of hold things in, just like so. Maybe just go up against this wall a bit, and actually this side, which would be my left here, seems to be all nice and perfectly fitting. It's just, we've got, as you can see, this side's in nicely, but here we're kind of warping a bit. Right, so what we want to do is we potentially want to come along now with some super glue. So I've got any kind of plastic top, right? I mean, I use my cotton wool buds. I removed the lid and I just use that as a bit of a nice little template, or kind of surface in which to put my super glue onto. So I ain't got to worry about it damaging anything or anything like that. Super glue, just kind of remember to try and clean the top of the super glue. And that's pouring out a bit. Let's get a paper towel. Alright, quickly wipe it with a paper towel once. Don't mess about, because if you keep wiping it, it'll just glue all paper towel on there. Alright, so now that's kind of been wiped clean, so we can put the lid back on. So what we want to do is we want to get some super glue. So we've got a cocktail stick here, and we want to just, first off, where we've got it nicely joined, let's just make sure that isn't going to go anywhere. So I'm just putting in some glue, like so. Bit of Vitabond kicker. Alright, and we can just get that nicely in place. Give it a blow, and it just speeds up the whole super gluing time a hell of a lot quicker and gets it glued into place. Right, so hopefully now this side isn't going to move, right? So we've got one side virtually nailed down. So then what we can do is we can take this side and we can force it now, and we can force that with some super glue coming in from the back, because we ain't going to see the back, and we can get as messy as we want with the back of this. just like so. Nice bit of super glue, just pinching it with my fingers. Alright, that should do it. Just check we're kind of lined up, and then we can get our vital bond on there. Give it a blow. Alright, and hopefully we can let go. And there we go. We've nailed that down. We've actually forced that shut now. Right, so we've got no kind of warping going on this end. And what we can do, we can come along with the Mr. Cement S, and we can actually glue this side in, get it welded, because the super glue is just nicely keeping everything together. Just like so. Right then, so that little bit of warping has now been sorted out. So let's crack on with some photo etch now. So what we're going to do is look at a few basics of photo etch. And the basics really is getting your photo etch pieces off of this fret here. Now, to do this, well, shall we just say, let's say not what to do. What you don't want to do is get your scissors and cut the little tabs away so that you can get your photo etch off, because you basically, it's all about potentially bending the photo etch. Same goes for getting a blade and kind of cutting down onto a well, a cutting mat like this. As good as a cutting mat is, the problem is you can actually dig into a cutting mat, as you can see there, you know, potentially 1 mil, 2 mil, and what that does, because you're going down into the cutting mat, you can also potentially bend your bits of photo etch as well. What you also, so basically what I've brought here, what you can buy, which is a good buy, is a nice RB Productions kind of cutting mat and a little handle here. I got it from spruemart.co.uk, I think it was it Spruemart or something like that. Basically what you do is you can put your fret on this nice hard surface so that you don't dig down and bend it. One thing you don't want to do, don't drag your blade, right? Do not drag it like you would, say, scribing, because you can drag the pieces of photo etch off of the sprue, off their sprues, and kind of rip them out, sort of thing. So no dragging. So really we don't need a number 11 blade. What is a good blade to use is the number 9 blade. What I'm going to show you how to use that. So what we can do is, what we're going to cut off, we'll cut off 111. So we're going to have to get you right in, because we're going to get real small now. So what we want to do is we want to use our number 9 blade and bring our blade right up to the end of the tab where it meets the actual piece. Right, so we want to cut it as close as possible because it saves us so much work. And then we get our little clear bit of plastic here with the little kind of handle, and we butt it up against our blade. So what we've just done there is we are now putting 2 hard pieces of plastic both underneath and on top of our photo etch. So then our photo etch now is full on protected from it shooting off and getting lost and eaten by the carpet monster, right? And it prevents it from bending. So what we want to do, well, shall we say it again? Quick note, we don't want to be dragging and slicing like that, because we'll just drag the photo etch piece off. Right, what we want to do is we want to kind of push down and sort of rock forwards and backwards like so, and then that should cut that bit of photo etch off lovely. So let's turn this around again, put the blade exactly where you want it to be cut, and then you can butt up your nice little piece of plastic here that protects our piece nicely. Push down, which is possibly sometimes all you need, but then give it a bit of a rock forward and backwards, and it should cut that perfectly away from our nice little photo etch fret there. Now we can look at this, and to be honest with you, this doesn't really need any more work. That has literally virtually perfectly been cut off, but not quite there. We just want to trim it up a bit. You probably won't be able to see this on camera because it's so minute, right? But I just want to get a bit of photo etch on some pliers here. It's pliers, sorry, tweezers. Right, and we want to hold that nice and steady. Let's remove that out the way. And then what we're going to do is just to get all our tabs nice and neat and have it all looking real nice and professional, we're holding it with some tweezers. We've got ourselves a metal file here, and what we can do is just very lightly give it a bit of a sand. Now I mean very lightly because we don't want to bend it or anything like that. It only needs a light bit of a trim. And that is looking beautiful now, just like that. So that is basically cutting photo etch off of a fret. So that piece of photo etch there is all nicely cut off, trimmed up, all good to go onto our model here. So actually what I could probably do is just go right through and glue on a few pieces here. Now before we glue this on, we need to make sure that the surface is prepped. Now in this case what we've got is what Edard will kind of get you to do a lot of the time, is sort of remove whatever surface detail that might be on here. Now in this case, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a bit of raised kind of panel line detail going on just here. What I can quickly do is just quickly with a blade just quickly get rid of the majority of that raised surface detail, just real quick. Then I can come in with something like a medium sanding stick. A mini sanding stick is probably a good idea because we are getting quite tiny here. Oh, there's another one there. We may as well get rid of that while we're at it. And there we go, we've literally sanded that back, but then we want to kind of smooth it all back as well, like so, and just get that all gone as if it was never there. And that's looking good now, that is. Hopefully you can see that. And what we're going to do now is we're going to get our tweezers. Let's get our sticky picky uppy thing, like so. So I've just picked this up and we're going to get our tweezers. Oh, there we go. See, it just drops all the time. Really isn't easy. There we go. So we've got that on some tweezers now, holding it real nice and tight. And then we just want to get a bit of our super glue, and we just want it on one part of this because this is going to be sticking up now. And what we want to do, we want to hold that as nice and careful until our glue dries, and we should be able to let go, and that should be pretty nice and solid in place. And there we go, nice bit of photo etch just on there. We've also got a bit of a bit of fuel going on here, fuel cap. Now this here as well, I mean, we can come in with our blade. We've got a bit of detail we've got to remove for our fuel cap, so we can just remove the, you know, the most raised part of the detail with a blade. We are going to be putting photo etch on top of this, so we haven't got to worry about having some real nice smooth finish, just enough so that photo etch can be glued onto it. Right, so I can just probably scrape this with a blade, not have to worry about coming in with sanding sticks and finishing it off. We just need to carefully cut it nice and perfect. So what we can do here, using our pickup stick, we can get a little bit of a fuel cap on here. Getting a cocktail stick, we can just put a nice little, right, oh, it's going to come off, it's going to come off. Okay, we're just being careful now. Right, but we've got some super glue underneath there. I'm just being careful how I'll place this now. Ooh. Almost messing this up. And there we go, we just managed to get that in real lucky like. But there we go, we've got that nice little bit of a fuel cap going on. What you might want to do is with this picky up stick, right, if you put it in water, it kind of puts the stickiness back into it. So you might want to do that and put the lid on, because it kind of picks up dust and loses its tackiness. So that's basically a first bit of photo etch.